So getting into the details of an outsourced purchase order, how does it look like whenever it comes to the setup? So firstly, we'll go into another graphic to give more context on how it actually works for the type of use case that we want to cover. And that is covered in this image here. So imagine that this building here on the top is actually a material supplier. They sell items to you. This one down here is a supplier of manufacturing services. And then this location here is your home or your main location. And as a manufacturer, you might be making t-shirts, say blue t-shirts like so, but you buy materials from this supplier who's selling yarn. And you use this Katana account to issue a purchase order to buy that material, and then that material gets sent to another location, which is the outsourced manufacturing location. And you also use your Katana account to issue an outsourced purchase order to this location to consume these yarn raw materials in the manufacturing process here. So that way, when the service has been completed, which makes this t-shirt, it is then received at your main location from that outsourced purchase order. So if you have a problem, such as I'm struggling to track raw materials that I buy from one location and send them to another location, and also associate the cost and inventory for that material that I have at that outsourced location, as well as find a way to manage the purchase orders that I have for any contract manufacturers that I'm working with, then this is the exact point of what this feature is going to solve for you. So how does this get set up inside of Katana? Firstly, I want to emphasize the differences. To make this work in Katana, remember, we're tracking inventory at two locations. We're tracking the inventory that's at your outsourced manufacturing location, because remember, the materials that you own are going there, but also products that are there are being sent to you. And you're also tracking the inventory at your main location, which would be your finished products. So you need to have two locations inside of your Katana account, one which is your main, and the other which is your contract manufacturer. So what I've done in this Katana account is in the settings page under locations, I've added my main location here, and I've also added a subcontract manufacturer. I'm currently working with furniture on this demo account, so we're getting away from the clothing theme. But anyway, I've specified furniture crafting as the outsourced manufacturer that I use, which what this has done is this has actually created a second location to track inventory. So I have my main location plus my furniture crafting location. You can see that I don't have hardly anything there, but probably what I would have there would be materials and maybe some finished goods that are waiting to be shipped out. But also, when it comes to setting this up, you've got two locations, so that's done. The next thing is to go into the items that you are actually going to be doing the outsourced manufacturing with. So one example of this is a coffee table. So on the product card, there's a couple of things that are nuances that you must be aware of. Firstly, anytime you do an outsourced purchase order, there are some things that you must have. First thing that you must have is a bill of materials or a recipe, at the very least. Of course, you should have production operations too, because even though you aren't manufacturing them in-house, you would also probably know what needs to be done in the manufacturing process most of the time. But product recipe is an absolute must. If you don't have this, then this won't work. Second thing you've got to do is you've got to have these two checkboxes turned on. I make this product and I buy this product. Now, what's the difference between the two of these is that when you have I buy this product turned on for a product type of item, it makes that product available on a purchase order. This means that you can always add that product to a purchase order, but it also means that you can also add it to an outsourced purchase order. Now, there is a difference between the two of those. A purchase order is a document where you contact a supplier and then you purchase the item and it comes in at whatever you bought it for. But the outsourced purchase order, what it's actually doing and why it's important to have a recipe for that item is you get to specify from what location the ingredients are taken from, and it uses the bill of material calculations to remove those items from inventory in order for you to generate a product. So if you issued POs for raw material that you sent to the contract manufacturing location, then you issue an outsourced purchase order for products at the contract manufacturing location, then it's going to take all of the materials from that location based on the BOM, consume them at the cost in which they are as inventory at that location, and add the service or operations cost, which is the fee that you pay for those products from the outsourced purchase order, directly to the cost of the product when it's received at your main location. So I know it's a lot to take in, but that's some of the core elements that you must have in place. So outsourced purchase order is very different in its mechanics compared to a purchase order, but these two options must be turned on in order to make it possible. Now, if you have the I buy this product item selected, then this is where you can select a default supplier. Now, the default supplier and the location, they don't have a connection to each other, so it's not really anything important. It's just that if you have a supplier listed here on the product card who happens to be one of your outsourced manufacturing partners, then you want to use outsourced purchase order workflow, you must have a location that also corresponds to this specific supplier. Otherwise, you won't be able to track those ingredients from those different locations when they're consumed in the manufacturing process of the products that you're ordering from them. Now, where can you find all of this information when it comes to purchase orders and outsourced purchase order? All of that will be found in the buy section, buy screen here on your Katana account. And they are separated. So purchasing are for purchase orders for any items, products and materials. Nothing complicated, you just buy from a supplier. And then the outsourced ones are all of the purchase orders that you are currently buying from your outsource partners. The next video will cover a little bit more of the mechanics on how the outsourced purchase order workflow actually looks and how it works. But this is just a nice overview of how that setup should be taking place.